Good morning, everyone. I wanted to give everyone an update. Unfortunately, Cartel did not make it. Once we got him to the emergency vet, he very quickly declined. His blood pressure started dropping. We got it back up to normal levels. It would significantly drop again. We got it back up to normal levels. This happened 3 times within about 4 hours. His red blood cell count started rapidly declining. He had tested on initial intake for anemia, mild anemia, and then the red blood cells just were not reproducing. Of course, he had no blood loss, he had no internal bleeding, so they suggested that he have a blood transfusion and a platelet transfusion. And even if we had done that, within about 5 hours of being there, he also started doing the telltale signs of distemper, which is the rhythmic trembles. Looks like they're cold, they start shivering. So although there is no test for distemper, and a lot of the early onset symptoms are very similar to heat stroke, massive dehydration, meningitis, possible valley fever, there is no real way to know it's distemper until you know it's distemper. When he was in our care, he presented as though he had a heat stroke, and we were treating him for severe dehydration, which he was severely dehydrated just from being out on the streets. Had we rushed him to the emergency vet the second he was delivered to our door, would not have mattered. He would have spent longer in ICU receiving IV fluids. With us, he was receiving sub-Q fluids, which his body was not even absorbing. So, there was no real difference there. They did not provide really any other treatment other than IV fluids and blood work. So, I understand everyone was concerned about him, and we totally appreciate that. That's why you follow us, because you love animals, you're concerned. We had his care covered here, and the negative comments weren't helpful. There's just no reason for it. We provided the best care for him in the early stages of what he was showing. He would have declined in our care had we not taken him. He started to decline, that's why we took him. He would have, started showing the telltale signs of distemper with us or at the emergency vet. It didn't matter if he had distemper in a neurological aspect. There's really no money in the world that could have changed his outcome. Once you have it, you have it. And it's sometimes slow onset, sometimes rapid. For him, it seemed slow and then suddenly kicked in. While he was in the care of the people that had him on the street, they reported that over the course of a week, he started declining. And then the last 2 days before they brought him, he was just laying in the little wagon. They were pulling him around in this 115-degree heat. So, it isn't really their fault either. They could have got him care immediately, but he still would have had this outcome because he had already contracted distemper. So it is sad, it is unfortunate. He was the sweetest little baby boy, the cutest little face. I already fell in love with him. We didn't even have him 48 hours. But that is what happened with Cartel. Now, I do want to also thank everyone for donating for his care. It was amazing. Sometimes you guys just step up and it wows me. So his vet care was expensive because it was emergency. It was a whole panels of blood work and PCR tests and antibiotics and isolation, hospitalization stay, emergency fee, all the fees that an emergency vet tacks on. So, when I initially made a comment to someone who, in bold letters wanted to tell me, "You're not a vet, he needs emergency care," I responded, it would be 3,000 plus on a holiday weekend, and we don't have those kind of funds. And then their response was, you're not a vet. Did you pull that out of your ass? Well, no, I didn't, because it was $3,800 actually, and most people don't have that money. I mean, do you? Would you be able to take your dog to an emergency vet on the 4th of July and drop $3,800? Most people could not. I could not. Personally, my own dogs would have to die in my care, because I would not even be able to take a dog to an emergency vet if it was going to cost $3,800. And the only way we were able to do that for Cartel was because of our donors. I understand those negative comments come from a place of concern and maybe fear, but it's not helpful, and it didn't change his outcome. My care for him here for 24 hours did not cause this. The cause came way before he was delivered to us, when he was exposed to distemper. He was delivered at our door at 6:30 a.m. on the 4th of July. My thought was not to rush him to a vet. Let's treat him for what I'm seeing. Severe dehydration was the number one thing. I immediately administered sub-Q fluids. I immediately administered antibiotics. I started syringe feeding him. I cared for him nonstop for 24 hours. The second I saw the slightest decline, I took him to the emergency vet, and within 8 hours, he had to be euthanized. He did go peacefully. I was right there with him. He was loved. I told him all of you love him. I told him how much support he had. I told him he went viral on the internet, and he seemed happy about it. So thank you. Let's switch gears on a separate note. Our STAR fundraiser ended at noon on 4th of July, but we were so busy and overwhelmed caring for the emergency situation with Cartel that I didn't even have time to go through the last minute donation of stars to see who won and get them up on the kennels. But thank you. I do recognize that you donated stars. The winner of our star fundraiser is Cucumber. And what's great is Cucumber is our rock star of the month for July. So how fitting. So Cucumber is going to go with me to Prescott for a day. Maybe this weekend I can get away, at least for a few hours in between shifts, and get her up there, which would be great. So today I'm going to be fully sanitizing this kennel. This is the kennel, this is our isolation kennel. It's separate from our main room. So the rest of the dogs in our facility were not exposed. If anything, maybe anything on my clothing or on my person, but I did not interact with any of our in-house dogs when I was caring for Cartel. So any exposure, I don't see how it would have happened, but if it did, it would have been minimal, and everyone here is vaccinated. So I'm going to be sanitizing the kennel today. We still have a full house. Cucumber won, she's going to go to Prescott, so that's good. And thank you all for supporting Cartel. I'm sorry it wasn't a better outcome. I wish it had been for him, for everyone's morale, for all of you that donated. I wish you hadn't donated all that money and it just ended up being, we had to euthanize him anyway. It's unfortunate, but at least he died peacefully, not out on the streets, a long, drawn out, painful death in this heat. So you can be proud of yourself for that. We accomplished that for him. So thank you very much, and hopefully the next time you see me, it'll be a happier video. Sorry.